Welcome. I'm so glad to see everyone. It's our 19th annual user conference, kind of a geek fest. I think it's probably now the largest attendance marketing conference, but it's truly the biggest connection and collaboration for people who are passionate about data and analytics. And I know that's who you are in the room. From many different perspectives, we have people who really mine the data, people who use the data, and people who actually put into practice the data that helps them understand business problems and helps them make their businesses more successful. Just a moment, it's many years now since we started doing these land acknowledgements. And at the beginning, I think it was really important for awareness, but I think it's amazing how quickly understanding of reconciliation and doing things differently in the face of recognizing the value of diversity that we have in Canada is really important. So I'm really proud of the fact that we have a team, our JEDI group, our Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion group, that keeps us honest, it keeps us active, and it keeps us aware of the issues that face populations and special interest groups in Canada, to be sure that from a point of view, because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's really important for business for us to use all the resources at hand. And as a leader, I've always known that we need all people with all backgrounds, and certainly it's a bonus for us now as we start to celebrate neurodiversity, because so many people have so much to contribute. So I welcome all people from all different jobs and roles in the data and analytics space. And our theme is connection, and I hope you take the opportunity to connect with one another and really understand, if you're on the business side, what's really happening in the development side. If you're on the legal side, what are the business interests that your teams are trying to solve for customers? Because it truly does take a village, or as I said last year when we launched LiveRamp, I said it's a big tent. We all have to work together. In Canada, we have challenges, but we have great opportunity. We're not a huge market. There's not enough room to have everybody doing everything. And the extent to which we can come together and work together to make data and analytics help businesses and organizations have better outcomes, well, that's the name of the game right now. So I want to also acknowledge the industry and the leaders who we work very closely with. We intentionally support all of the industry associations that work together to make sure that marketing and interactive advertising and the advertising community and the research communities work together. And so I want to shout out to the CMA and Allison Simpson, who is joining us today, because the Canadian Marketing Association has been a major voice for businesses, as has the IAB, and Sonia is here. Thank you, Sonia, for joining us today. Scott Knox from the ICA is working hard to make sure that Canadian content and Canadian creative, which is recognized around the world as a major contributor, Scott's the person who makes sure that nobody can ignore keeping it on the agenda. So thank you, Scott. And we work together with the ICA in the Marketing Effectiveness Awards, the Effies, which Environics Analytics is proud to support. Because for us, really the name of the game is, if we're working on data and analytics to improve the way people do things, you have to be able to measure and show the outcomes and show that it actually works. Andrea Hunt is joining us later, unless she's here now, from the ACA, and Sue Haas from Logic, and Pat Pellegrini from Vividata. There are other partners we're going to shout out during the day, but I want to say once again how important it is for the industry to work together instead of in fragmentation, to make sure that we can do the things that we need to do to make our businesses stronger. Because truly, that's your job. You may be in a development, you may be a data scientist, you may be in marketing, you might be in IT, but everybody in this room, your job right now is to ensure better outcomes for your organization. And that's not just businesses, that's also, if you're not for profit, you have to serve more people. If you're in government, you have to make sure that you're reaching greater audiences and providing more services. And yes, unfortunately, the revenue or the top line has to go up but the bottom line has to go up too, and it has to go up faster than it's been going up. We're talking about making Canada more productive. You know, we listen to the stories about the outside world and the geopolitical situation, and some people find it kind of bad news. I find that it's extremely challenging and exciting that we have this opportunity now. Everyone in this room, when you think about the conditions for your friends and your families and your futures, we have this opportunity to use data and analytics and this great innovation in AI and technology to make our world a better place and to make our cities and our communities and our country a better place. And I feel just as excited now as I did decades ago when I started working in the business, even more excited now about the opportunities that new technologies have. But just remember, whatever your job is to make sure that your organization has better outcomes. And you have the power to help do that. You know, the business journals have been writing about it, well, for decades, but particularly, I guess, since the big data topic was introduced more than 10 years ago. And I love the Harvard Business Review, and you can always find whatever topic you want there. And but there are many others as well, and everybody's talking about the importance of data and why we need to mine data. And then you get into the debate, you know, should we use data or should we use intuition, and should we use our common sense? Oh, geez, I wonder what the answer to that is. We need to use all the tools that we can. But the truth is that for the past 15 years, people have spent a lot of money getting data, buying technology, hiring people. And yet there still is this concern that maybe we aren't getting the return on the investment. And again, last time I'll mention to my longevity, but I do remember in 2000 when, you know, we had gone from the world of database marketing into CRM, and then all of a sudden all the articles started writing, everybody started writing about, oh, CRM didn't give us what we promised. It was the backlash. We're not going to spend any more money on that. I think it's really important that that doesn't happen again. I think the reason why there was an element of truth in that was because people didn't actually have a proper enterprise-wide culture to put data and analytics somehow on the agenda for their companies. You know, the CRM was siloed. People thought the technology could solve the problems. We didn't put a business-centric approach. We have the opportunity to do that now. We've done a lot. We've made a lot of progress. All you in this room have made a lot of progress. But it's still important to understand why expectations aren't met. It is difficult. You know, I have colleagues and friends who say, oh, you always make things so complicated. Keep it simple. I can't keep it simple. It's not simple. But what we can do together is we can make it simple. We can build things in. We can build processes. We want to be sure that for all the data that's out there, you're using the right data. What you do with the data that you have is what matters. The methodology, the delivery, the business problems, the algorithms, these are the things that make a difference. You know, for 20 years in this company and a little bit of time in the predecessor company that many of the EA leaders worked in, we answered very important but detailed and specific questions, like where do my customers come from? What are my most valuable customers? How do I reach them better? How can I find untapped potential? You know, how can I measure which part of my advertising dollar is working? Where should I focus? How do I know how far my customers are traveling? These are detailed questions. Each one of those questions probably has 10 workflows in our software. But what's really important is that we understand what those questions are. You understand? Really important to us is you tell us what those questions are. Because some of these questions have been around for a long time, but they also present themselves a little bit differently as the external world changes. Our jobs are to make sure that businesses have access to data, that they can analyze the data, and that they can activate. And I don't just mean activate in the sense of digital media. I mean that they can actually go and take an action based on the data and analytics that you produce. You know, we coined one of our customers coined the phrase in a presentation 10 years ago. Our job is to answer the question, now what, not so what. And that's what we've got to do. That's your job. And I said it was complex. We need a plan. When we think about it, we think about these 8 things. We think about the real importance of data collaboration. That means mixing your data from one department to another's, or your data with your partners. And that depends on your permissions and your data storage and your internal process. The data itself, there's all different kinds of data. People used to say to me in 1995, oh my God, everybody's got their data, their customer data now. We're not going to need your crappy old postal code stuff anymore. Well, look what happened. The more data, the more different kinds of data you have, the more we bring different kinds of data together and use the right data fit for purpose, the better outcomes and the better analysis we get. Technology, so important to what we do. There's choices, but there's also ways to have technology come together and work together. Culture, I'm going to talk a lot about that in a minute. You can't build a data-driven organization if you don't have the right culture and you don't have the right people. Just doesn't work. I can't tell you how many organizations that we work for, big, respectable, successful organizations who want to do things and still, speaking of 25 years since CRM, still don't have one view of their customer. Still, when we get a project that we're working on, that's a big project, a big modeling project, maybe a predictive analytics project. Our team still, when they estimate the time to do the work, more than half of the time comes from cleaning and normalizing and organizing that customer's data. So although there's a lot of progress, and not to be negative, we have to face the reality that people need to get their data together, especially if they're going to take advantage of the power of AI. Analytics, to me, that's about the math. I talk to people and they say, oh, I've got this secret new way of doing this prediction, or I can do this. I think that's interesting because even though I've forgotten most of it, I am a mathematician by training. So I say, well, how do you do that? Oh, we have algorithms. Okay, but what exactly are you doing? What's the theory? What's the steps? What are you multiplying? What are you dividing? What analysis are you using? So for us, people who know us know we're pretty hawkish around analytics. We want to make sure that the data that we're producing actually is a simulation of the reality and the business situation that you're dealing with. Infrastructure, very important in this right now, and we're thinking about sovereignty, we're thinking about security, we're thinking about privacy. How do we make sure that our data and analytics plan is really grounded, properly built for future? Governance is a part of that, but we think about it separately. I've also talked to people and I say, well, do you have a chief governance officer? Do you have a chief data officer? What's your governance strategy when it comes to handling all this data? It's not good if you get the answer as well. We're PIPEDA compliant. That's not a governance strategy. Not to be privacy compliant, even to being privacy compliant isn't good enough on privacy. But governance goes way beyond privacy, and I want to talk to you about that a bit. And finally, partnerships. So these are all, there's many other things, but when I think about how can I help our team provide you with better services, I think that we have to do what we're doing in the context of those pieces of the puzzle. And really, being a data-driven organization just means going step by step and putting those pieces together and focusing on these areas. And if you do that, I think the rest will take care of itself. So in the next hour, a little bit less, I want to talk to you about some of these parts of these things and how we think about it at Environics Analytics. And then through the rest of the day, we'll get a chance to hear about how you think about it. Also want to take a minute to thank all our presenters today because we have 3 great panels. We have 15 case studies being presented. So the rest of the day has got lots of actual practical applications of the kinds of things that I and some of the other members of the team are going to talk to you about this morning. So I think you have all the details, where the rooms are and where to go, but there's lots of signs and there's lots of EA people around who can help you. So I'm going to now dive in and talk a little bit more about each one of these pieces of the puzzle. And you can't talk about being a data-driven organization and enterprise culture without pictures of silos. You're going to see them again later. Really, as I said earlier, what it takes is to be relentless and focused and aligned around the fact that we really are going to be data-driven. It's not going to be lip service. We're going to find out what has to happen. If most of our data sits in IT, or if it sits in marketing, or you have the insights people who have a different set of data, and you have the digital strategy people who have the digital data, and the finance department's got the bottom line about how much money you're going to spend. And of course, legal has a point of view about what you ought to do. And if these organizations are not aligned around a strategy, I mean, strategy is maybe even a bit of a too lofty word. It's just you have a plan and you execute against it. You know, you figure out what you need to do and then you do what you need to do. And when you need to change, you intentionally change what you're doing. That's what we call agility on the tech side. We need that agility on our strategy side as well. You do have to have the best people. You know, it's been an opportunity for people who have data science, for people who have coding skills, for people who have analytical skills, for people who actually can do that consulting work. It's our time. It's our time. And so, you know, I'm very proud of the fact that we have a very, very long tenured staff at EA. It's not the kind of company where people spend 3 or 4 years and then go somewhere else. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, and some people do, but the vast majority have been working with data and analytics and technology in the context of helping understand consumer insights, helping understand markets, and helping understand, you know, location intelligence, have been doing it for 10 or more years. A couple of years ago, we had about 100 of them up on stage, showing the people who are behind the scenes, who write the software, who write the code, who work on the projects. These people have master's degrees. They have a perspective as well. Another group of people have a perspective on different industries. If you work closely with us, you know we have people who work in finance and insurance and other people who are experts in telecom or not-for-profit or tourism. I think we track now 20 different industries because we want to build a basis of data and analytics that has the synergy. It's expensive to do this work. So our view is to build platforms and databases and integrate them and make them ready for you to add your next layer on top. And then in case of our software, we add additional layers on top. But if we don't have an enterprise strategy and if we don't hear from you about what you need, then it's very hard for us to stay ahead and provide the services that you need. So important to that is also having all stakeholders at the table. Been in big data projects, big segmentation projects for large organizations, maybe even spend a year and produce something wonderful. And then 3 weeks later, when the department that didn't know anything about what we were going to do sees this new custom segmentation system or a geographic strategy, oh, gee, I'd like to use it for this. Well, if we'd only known in advance when we designed the analytical work the broadest possible range of business purposes, then we would have had a better outcome. That system could have been tweaked a little or something could have been added. There's a lot of synergy in making a plan and having all stakeholders. And when we work with you, most of you know, we want your agency at the table. We want your tech providers. We don't want to inundate everybody with endless meetings, but when you're doing a kickoff and you're planning and scoping something, having a horizontal view inside your company and bringing the other people who are part of your program, it just makes sense. So stakeholder engagement, aligned business objectives, of course, governance. You know, I'm going to talk about it later, but we know we have to answer the question, what can we do, what could we do, and what should we do with the data and with the technology that's available to us. And then when you have this plan worked out, there has to be accountability and there has to be performance measures. My view from working with literally hundreds of organizations is this responsibility for data strategy. Some people talk about data monetization. That means how are we going to use our data to help ourselves make more money, or even how are we going to use our data to sell it in the outside world, has to come from the top leadership. It has to be a C-suite priority. We're going to do this and we're going to measure the results. We're going to invest in data and analytics and technology, and we're going to make better outcomes for our organization. And everybody in this room, in my view, has to be an advocate for that. So go down the hall and talk to your colleagues in another department. When you're going to work on a project, think about the relationship between insights and activation and outcomes measurement, between building a huge customer database to predict what would be a good location for a site, and then using that same data that's been assembled for your site models and your site location to actually do outreach and plan your media campaigns and merchandise your shelves and look at your couponing, look at your end aisle displays. All fits together. The data that you're building and that you're amassing really can help your business have a better outcome. And speaking of data, I mentioned earlier, the more data you have, the more opportunities you actually have to work. Honestly, we never have enough data. But I also don't believe that he who has the most data wins, because you have to know what to do with it. So we're very excited, and you're going to hear more today about a lot of work that we're doing in the areas of helping you combine your first-party data, the data you have about your customers, with the data that other people have about their customers and where your customers and their customers might overlap, or your donors might overlap. So, second-party data is really just somebody else's first-party data that you're in a relationship with them, a business relationship to use. So first-party data, CRM, POS data, your customer experience data, everything that you're getting from the social and digital world. The technology is there. It can be connected. You can have one view of your customer. There's nothing that is holding you back other than the will to make that a priority, because when you make that a priority, then the work that you do will be much better. And again, as I mentioned, you're going to be in co-marketing. You're going to be looking at sponsorship opportunities. Loyalty could be your first-party data, but can also be second-party data. You're part of a loyalty program. You're a member or a sponsor. The things that people do with you and the things that people do with others is very important to understand those connections. And we're looking at data, so what we call signal data from devices, from the Internet of Things. These kinds of data also need to be brought into the picture. And then finally, we've got a tremendous amount of third-party data. I don't think I need to tell very many people in this room about our demographics, about our social values from our former sister company, but still partner company, Environics Research, where we can actually link to the PRISM and the demographic and the other data that we have. We can link what the motivators are, those drivers and motivators from the Environics social values and from other surveys. We understand a lot about community. We have databases about people giving back and about how people get engaged in their community and how they feel about their health care. Do they expect the government to look after them, or are they going to be proactive? We have tons and tons of media behavior from the most reliable surveys and media experts. We have segmentation, about that. We have spending data, and we have propensity to purchase data, which is different from spending, from lots of different sources. Diversity. Point is, if you're new to us and maybe you just think about PRISM, 2-digit code on 750,000 postal codes, it's still a wonderful tool. But we have lots of other data that can help you. And these data are produced at the postal code level. From our partners, they're produced for Canada and the provinces and the large markets. The relationship that we have with these data providers is to use proprietary methods to drive the best projection of that behavior or that spending or that sentiment that's captured, to drive it down and say, what is the most likely to be at this area, which is one side of a street between two intersections. And by the way, when you do that and you give us that data, make sure that it's 100% privacy compliant and there's no risk of re-identifying anybody who lives in that block. That's our job, and that's what we've done. And we've assembled this database that has about 50,000 variables for 750,000 postal codes. And we stand by the quality, by the methodology that's producing these databases, and we make it available to you in a variety of circumstances. So don't forget, You have the new Prism poster on your table, and Prism was reconfigured this year. But also on the back of it, it tells you about all the other databases that Prism and your own data and your partner's data can be integrated with, so that you're taking advantage of all of the things that we have. We've been producing Prism in Canada now since 2004. It's a Canadian product. We own it. We license the name from our friends at Claritas, and happy to see you. Welcome here today. A partnership between a US and Canadian company to help global brands have a similar approach. What we've done with many US partners is take what they've done in the US and provided it to their US customers and made it possible to do in Canada. And Prism is a great example of that. When the team sits down to update Prism every year, year over year, we look at changes at the neighborhood level from a wide variety of sources, starting from our demo stats. So we have geographic, demographic, econometric models that enable us to really look at that small spatial scale and understand the changes and capture that in the data. Then every year we update the counts and some of the characteristics of Prism. And then every 5 years or so, we take a look and we say, do we actually need to move the marbles on the table? Is the categorization system right? And this year we said, well, we need to make some adjustments. So that means you go back into the clustering algorithms using machine learning tools that we have had for 22 years, using machine learning and taking literally hundreds of variables and boiling it down to the ones that make a difference and creating a new category. So you'll see there's a few categories that have changed. There's a few segments that have really got bigger and smaller and moved around a little bit. And a lot of people have changed their segment, not, hugely, but with the kinds of demographic distributions that we have, neighborhoods change a little bit. And you don't capture those every year, and you don't need to, but you do need to capture them every 5 years. And that's part of the new Prism. I talked a little bit earlier about analytics, about the math. Think of our business like this. On the left, you see this huge funnel of all this data. The data sources that come into our, we talk about our data supplier partners, but very little data do we take and resell. Because as I mentioned, it's our job to take all this great data that many of you produce and then make it actionable. How do you make it actionable? Well, if you have it at the postal code level, then you can attach it to your CRM. Whether you care about location or geography or not, geography becomes the integrator. So we have all these great data sources, as well as data that's not from surveys, like administrative data that's rolled up to the levels at which we can acquire it, like tax filer data or confidential, privacy compliant credit data. Then when we work on stuff like wealth, we bring in data from all the bank's financial reports, and it's a lot of data. I'd get it wrong if I quoted the volume, but it's a lot of data. It comes in every day, every morning. We bring buckets of data down from the telecom networks, the signals from the telecom networks that we use in producing privacy forward, 100% compliant patterns of human movement for shopping behavior. So picture all that data. And then somebody said to me the other day, well, what techniques do you use? So, well, we use clustering. We use typological projection. We use predictive analytics. We use regression. We use machine learning. We use all kinds of things. The guys can tell you, the men and women who do it can tell you more about that. But now we have this new opportunity as well, which is to use the tremendous power of AI. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later about the fact that we're deep in there. We're not, we're just sort of past the year ago kicking the tires. We're deep into how AI can really help us produce even more and better data and outcomes for you. But the analytics, the definition, I looked it up, the process of discovering, interpreting, and communicating significant patterns in data. There's a few different definitions out there, but I thought that was a great one. That's what we have to do. So as I mentioned before, for me, analytics is about the math. Are we really doing things in a way that simulates the business reality? And if it should happen, God forbid, that the past can't actually predict the future, then how do we intervene? How do we tweak that? What assumptions do we make? How do we prompt for that? So our job, our analytics team has to figure out the methodologies and the processes to take all this data and all these tools and put it together and to produce the kind of outcomes and outputs that you see in our systems. Summarized reports, profiles, area rankings, maps. Not talking about the technology here, I'm talking about the formulas and the math behind the scenes. One of the great things about the rewrite of ENVISION, which Teresa's going to talk to you about, used to be this one huge mother of an application because it was built 14 years ago. We've taken it apart. We've built a set of data components, and we've built a series of services that do different things, that summarize data, that do distance decay, that do clustering the cluster. All these different pieces of applications are now APIs that are wrapped together with an ENVISION interface. That means that also people can get at our analytics, our formulas, our skills, our knowledge, because you can get under that and you'll be able to connect to the actual analytics routines. And we make sure, Danny, don't look the other way. We make sure that our Jedi Masters ensure the best practices. So Danny Human, who you all know, one of the founders of the company and our Chief Analytics Officer, and Peter Miron, our Chief Innovation Officer. They were trained by Dr. Tony Lee, also a founder and no longer with us. But when we remember Tony, the thing I always remember was when I used to say, come on, Tony, we got to get this data going. And you shouldn't let perfect get in the way of good. And he would say, why not? That's who trained Danny and Peter to be the safeguards of the methodologies in our company. And yes, we sometimes have to make trade-offs and choices, but they know what to do, and they're staying on top of the new methods and how we can make sure that our learnings from our 20 or 30 or more years can be brought to bear in the new reality. When all of this stuff comes together, we have some wonderful stories. As I mentioned, you're going to hear about them later today. But every year at this conference, we've had this tradition, tough one, of picking a client to celebrate because they've done so much great work and embodied the essence of what we have, which is let's put it all together, let's understand business problems, let's make our business have a better outcome. And so I'm very happy to introduce Rupin Sioni, our Chief Client Officer, who's going to award our 2025 Client of the Year.
Thank you, Jan. So I have the distinct pleasure of honoring our Client of the Year and presenting that award. As Jan mentioned, each year we recognize a client who exemplifies progress in that analytics journey that we're all on. Now, just for the record, it's not necessarily a client who does the most business with us. We look for a client that puts our data to use alongside of their data and uses our powerful analytical methods and tools like ENVISION to really embed all of this learning into their business. We look for a client that assesses where the greatest market potential is for growth and uses that combination of data to make those decisions. We look for a client that understands who they're trying to reach and tailors their marketing to those target audiences, measures the results, and refines for the next time around. And then we also look for a client that is trying to modernize that process by using data collaboration techniques to really identify those valuable, great partnerships to move their business forward. I'm really happy to say that our 2025 award recipient has all of these characteristics. And it's my pleasure to announce that our Client of the Year, I don't know if there's a drum roll, but our Client of the Year for 2025 is Tangerine. If Natalie Jones and Matthew Bennett could approach the stage, I'd be happy to give you your award. All right. There's Matthew. I think Natalie's on her way too.
Hi, everyone. My name's Natalie. This is Matt, who's the director and head of performance marketing. We're super honored, super surprised, and grateful to have gotten the award. Environics is an incredibly valued partner of ours. What's kind of exciting for me is I actually think we're just getting started. And so while we appreciate all the work that's been done, for us, the roadmap as we look ahead is way more robust than the roadmap as we look behind us. We're on a capital T transformation journey at Tangerine, and this is an incredible part of it. So for your guidance and your partnership, thank you. We really appreciate it.
We talk about partnerships in the context of what we do together, but also I've mentioned a few times the number of partners that we work together with. Sometimes people think it's just a giant logo fest, but I can tell you it's anything but that. We have partners that are data sources, you know, that zeros and ones coming into that funnel, people who share with us data, great data that they use for other purposes, and then we extend their reach by putting it into our ecosystem. And so you won't be able to read them all, but you can see there significant brands, the most important information companies in the country, people that you rely on. Most of these partnerships we've had for 20 years or more since the founding of our business, because you don't want to have to go to them and go to them and go to them and then take their data and model it and put it together. One of the key value propositions that you get from working with us and our team is that we can rely on the data that you know is reliable and respected and critical to your mission, and it will come to you for your specific purpose in our platforms and in our projects. And with some of those partners, and with many others, we also go to market. So we will work together to provide solutions or integrated data or value-added data based on their data and our data. And then we have partners, I've already mentioned the associations that we work most closely with, but partners like LiveRamp that you'll hear more about later that help us deliver a technology solution, and partners like Claritas that enable us to give a perspective segmentation across Canada and the United States. I mentioned earlier our former sister company, but still partner, Environics Research, where we collaborate and work together in terms of helping people understand their social values research and how that impacts particularly creative messaging when you're trying to get the right message to the right people at the right time. That message, that graphic, that video, that the words actually can and are being data-driven. And there's never been anything more important than being data-driven in this time when we can actually use the technology to use all of the different kinds of data. And I think people are pretty familiar by now that over the past 3 years, we've taken our data prism and our demographics and some of our spending data, and we've actually put it in the platforms. It's on your DSP, it's in your SSP. You can go to the main providers for programmatic. You can buy from Trade Desk, you can buy from Google using our data in Amazon. You can use our data in these technologies in order to take the learnings that you did in your insights work, and you can actually go and activate against it. So I'm always grateful and mindful of the fact that the connections that we have with these partners are what makes our business go. And whenever you're thinking about your own strategy, you need to do the same thing. I mentioned earlier, bring your partners to the table, bring your agencies, bring your other tech providers. Say, here's what we're thinking of doing. Does this make sense to you? Because all of these partners can make a big difference to your outcome. And every year we also take the opportunity to salute and recognize a partner of the year. Once again, it's hard because there are so many great ones. But the winner that we've picked for this year is someone we've been working together with for a little bit more than a year. Key thing about this partner is they have a unique set of data that does dominate the industry that they play in. We have data that's completely different, and we take our data and their data together. It turns out that we're able to bring some significant new solutions to the industry. I mean, it's not that we haven't been there at all, but where together we're better. The whole's better than the sum of the parts. Together we're building unique solutions, combining data, but also combining the understanding of business problems. And so I'm thrilled to announce that the partner of the year is IQVIA. I'd ask Matt to come up. I know, I wanted to surprise you. So I'd like to introduce Matt Norton, and I'll say a few words, and then we'll get our picture.
Yes, wonderful.
So together we've been really providing a 360-degree view of patient potential, helping understand healthcare professionals' behaviors and patient outcomes. For the pharma companies that Matt's already been dealing with, looking together at pharmacies and other healthcare providers, the combination of our demographics, our PRISM segments, which we call a patient segmentation because it works perfectly well, our community health data, and the incredible data that you have on the prescriptions that are being written for Canadians, and all of the tools that you have to bring those data and our data together. I think we've really got a winning combination. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you want to say anything,
Yeah,
you can.
I would.
Yeah.
I just whispered to Jay, and she caught me by surprise. I had no idea. So absolutely thrilled to have been named a Partner of the Year by Environics Analytics. It's been a journey over the last year, and I honestly believe, and I'll echo what our friends from Tangerine said, we are just scratching the surface of what the combination of our insights from the healthcare industry and the Environics Analytics insights from the healthcare industry and the population can deliver for life sciences companies, public sector entities, hospitals, the various ministries and regional departments of health. And so I look forward to presenting one of those case studies next year and winning this award again.
Let's get a picture. Did we get a picture before?
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. See you in a bit. The next piece of the puzzle is technology. Again, I don't know, I'm a bit of a dictionary person, so I love looking at Webster's and then looking at Oxford and then looking at Wikipedia and seeing how the definitions of things have changed over time. But I liked this one, the application of knowledge and scientific principles to create tools that help humans solve problems. It was a little bit longer, it had the word ingenuity in there too, but we couldn't fit it on this slide. So technology is different from methodology. It's different from analytics. It actually is that, I used to call it software and platforms and software and computers. We don't even know how to talk about it properly, but it is the thing that enables us to put all the pieces together and get this stuff out to you. And on the left of the chart are some, but not all, of the technology partners that we have at Environics Analytics. People say to me, oh, what cloud are you on? Well, we're on Azure, we're on Google, we're in AWS. We even spun up a clean room on ThinkOn, which is a Canadian cloud that's hosted in Canada and owned by Canadians. was the only one, but I guess there's another one that we're going to hear about a little bit later. But we're on all the clouds. We use different tools. I think one of our premier partnerships is with Snowflake. We're not even a big tech company, but we're Snowflake's second customer in Canada. When people were coming to me and saying, I need this money and I need to do this, I'm like, what's a Snowflake? But, and we work with Databricks and we work with other database providers, but the fact that we can scale our compute as well as our storage, and that we can deliver all of our data in Snowflake in what they call a stable edge. So if you're a Snowflake user, you can consume our data, and soon to become in other platforms. There's no exclusivity here, but for us, we always dance with the partner that comes first, and then if there's others that we can work with, it's great. But Snowflake has been an incredible technology partner for us. Esri has been a partner with me since 1992. I don't know if the Esri, I know Jay's in the room somewhere. I want to just shout out that when we decided, and Jason too, thank you for coming, when we decided to rebuild ENVISION so that we could take it apart and put all the bits together so that you could get at it more easily, we made a pretty easy decision, which was to move the geographic backbone to ArcGIS portal. And did I get that right? Did I say that right, Andrew? Is it ArcGIS portal? Yeah. And we put it on Kubernetes, if that means anything to anybody, because we needed speed and performance when you're on our system and you want to do analysis and you actually want to render a map. You know, people used to be happy if a model ran in like 8 hours and you could get it in the morning, and then they got upset, you know, when we moved to 2 hours, and then if you have to wait 30 seconds, people get excited. So the Esri platform as the backbone of our system solved that problem. But you know that ENVISION is not a GIS system. Esri ArcGIS and its many configurations is a GIS system. And the great thing is, for those of you in this room who use both systems, is there's interoperability and a great partnership. So the technology providers, you know, as I mentioned, as well as Snowflake, Databricks, as well as working together with Tableau and Alteryx and many other tools. For us, it's like what you need, what works. Power BI is a part of the solution now, but we're not a one-size shop. We're trying to use the best tool to deliver what we need for you. But the other part of technology is what we produce and the actual platforms that we present to the outside world. And a little bit later this morning, you're going to hear about our data collaboration services, which is an actual platform. It's an actual managed service on a platform or a platform. And we're going to talk to you about that in a little while. But first, the most important thing, and I get it, so nobody needs to tell me this. This is the third year in a row that we've announced some aspect of the release of the new ENVISION. So you had a sneak preview 2 years ago. Last year, you saw the first, some of the first interface and some of the first functionality. But we now have customers in beta, many. We have new functionality rolling out month after month. 14 years of building an application means it had thousands of workflows and reports, all optimized for you to use our data in the way that we think you should. In other words, the math behind it, but also the way to access data and do your own things. And so to take all of that functionality, you're going to be using both for a little while, because there's going to be some great new things in the new platform, and there's going to be stuff you're still going to use in the old platform. But our services team and our training team and our product team are there to support you in that. So without further ado, and not jumping down to show my enthusiasm, I'm so happy to welcome to the stage Teresa Sinopoli, our Chief Product Officer, who's going to show you what the new ENVISION really looks like.
Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you today. Let's begin with something most of you are familiar with: your customer data. Imagine you're a customer and they're shopping at your apparel store. They're part of your loyalty program, so you know where they live, you know what they buy, you know how often they shop, and how much they spend. Now, that's a lot of valuable information. But here is the real question. What are you doing with that data? In today's competitive landscape, where every dollar counts and every decision is scrutinized, brands need more than just data. You need intelligence. That's where ENVISION comes into play. ENVISION transforms your data into actionable insights instantly. It's not just a platform, it's your strategic partner. Whether you're in marketing, product, real estate, or strategy, ENVISION puts intelligence at your fingertips so you can make smarter decisions faster. Now, let's walk you through how we transform that customer data into meaningful marketing insights using ENVISION and Prism that Jan spoke about earlier. So we'll start first with that customer data, which is securely uploaded into our ENVISION platform. It's automatically enriched with Prism, adding demographic, lifestyle, and psychographic insights to create Prism profiles. By analyzing multiple profiles, we uncover patterns that define actionable target audiences. On this slide, you'll see 3 distinct target groups that emerge from that profiling process. Group 1 is very wealthy, they're cosmopolitan, they're middle-aged older families and couples, and they represent 27% of your customers. Group 2 are younger, they're multi-ethnic urban couples and singles. They're the largest segment of your customer base. They represent 38%. And group 3 are older, financially comfortable suburban couples and families, making up around 18%. So let's dive deep into one of these 3 target audiences. We're going to do group 2. We will call them the urban young. And you'll notice that these make up 4 Prism segments. Segment 6, Downtown Verb, my favorite segment. Segment 12, Eat, Play, Love. Segment 22, Indieville. And segment 28, Latte Life. Now let me show you how this works. As I mentioned earlier, ENVISION and Prism helps you understand who they are beyond your customer sales data. You'll discover that the urban young group are highly educated, globally connected, and live in urban condos. Many are first-generation immigrants and visible minorities. This is not just demographic data. It's a window into their lives. You will notice on the top left that we've integrated an AI analyst directly into our reporting, capable of delivering custom insights that go well beyond those individual data points. The AI analyst interrogates the data to find trends and determines what's most relevant. It actually also incorporates your user terminology to make sure the outputs are tailored to your organization. Next, you're going to discover that this urban young group are highly educated. Next, ENVISION is going to help you uncover why they make the choices they do. Their core drivers and motivators, the social values that Jan talked about earlier. This group values authenticity. They're brand advocates who care deeply about cultural depth and social impact. They don't just buy, they are brand influencers. And when you understand that, you can connect with them in ways that truly, truly resonate. You'll also discover what they do. They're into film festivals, niche cultural events, and health clubs. They're not just consumers, they're explorers, creators, and wellness seekers. This kind of behavioral insights helps you align your brand with their lifestyle. You can discover how to reach them and engage this audience by understanding their strong affinity for niche cultural content and vibrant urban living. They're drawn to specialized radio formats like modern rock, and they pay close attention to out-of-home ads, especially in transit shelters and subway stations. While their TV viewing is average, if we dive a little deeper, will discover that they gravitate towards documentaries, late-night talk shows, and sports like basketball and soccer. You'll notice that Netflix and YouTube lead in weekly reach, while Crave and Apple TV stand out for deeper engagement. Overall, this group prefers movies and documentaries over traditional news or dramas. So from subway ads to streaming app platforms, ENVISION helps you reach them with precision. Finally, ENVISION helps you find more customers like them. And who doesn't want more customers? You can map out where similar audiences live, work, and shop across Canada. This means smarter expansion, better media buys, and more efficient customer acquisition. ENVISION is built on a modern tech stack. It includes Snowflake, Esri ArcGIS Enterprise, and a series of microservices. ENVISION delivers unmatched speed and scalability. It allows you to collaborate with colleagues and make data-driven decisions faster with confidence. Now, let me show you ENVISION in action. Please start the video. One of the things you'll notice is the smarter user interface. The redesigned layout helps users get to insights faster. It's clean, intuitive, and built for discovery. Next, let's talk about collaboration. With ENVISIONs, teams can now work together in real time. No more exporting files and emailing people back and forth. You instantly can share insights with colleagues, making decisions faster and smarter. In this example, I'm adding a few team members to my workspace. Once that's done, I'm going to go import my customer file. I import my customer file by securely uploading it into the cloud. The system is going to confirm the import. It shows you a preview and lets me import any additional fields that I might want to use in ENVISION. As in loaded in ENVISION, I can start exploring instantly. The first report I open is a customer profile bar chart. You'll notice I didn't actually have to configure anything. The system automatically populates all our reports with my data. From here, I can start exploring. In this scenario, I want to do a comparative analysis. I'm comparing profiles of current customers with those who stopped shopping with us. This helps me understand who they are and how I can win them back. You'll notice that the reports are highly interactive. You can hover over data points and explore trend lines. The tables and visuals are all connected. This is especially useful in profiling analysis. Here, I'm comparing profiles side by side. You can choose multiple profiles and use our side-by-side feature. And what this does is, in this simple example, the segments that are shaded pink mean that these are strong segments that are consistent across all those customer profiles. And the blue are obviously ones that we don't share. From here, typically the workflow is I'll create a target group. I can do this manually or use an AI-powered target group builder. In this case, I've created 3 target groups. Once saved, I can run further analysis to learn more about who these people are. Now that my target groups are ready, I'm going to open our most popular report, which is our demographic report. You'll notice it's already pre-populated. And again, it includes the most relevant variables from our demographic suite, those that best differentiate your customers. The report includes an overview page and 7 key themes. You will notice all the pages include AI-generated text summaries. This happens to be the population page. When I flip to the diversity page, you'll see a mix of KPIs, pie charts, bar graphs, tables that reflect, in this case, demographic diversity variables. The education and work page uses similar visuals. We've prescribed the visuals that best represent the insights. Next is the new social values report, which highlights our partners' Environics research social values data. We have an overview page and 4 key value themes. When we review the consumer values page, I can quickly switch between those 3 target groups that I created earlier. You'll see the visuals update instantly, and the pink and blue things that highlight show how motivators differ across those 3 groups. Next, I'm going to show you the sports and leisure report, where this is what your customers are doing in their free time. We start again with an overview page and specific events and activities, and then we have this available for both our Vivid data and Numeris data sets. Our media report provides a comprehensive view of media habits across platforms and channels. We offer what we call deep dives for our media report. For example, earlier I showed you the TV viewing habits, and here's the online and social media behavior of that urban young group we talked about earlier. Finally, to understand where your customers live, work, and play, I use our area ranking tool. It shows you the top communities where I can locate each of my target audiences. And by comparing the audiences side by side, it reveals that there are geographic differences, which is essential when you're doing any kind of outreach or engagement strategies. Every report that includes geographic data also comes with built-in mapping, powered by Esri's ArcGIS Enterprise on Kubernetes. This lets you visualize where your target audience are and right within the report, so you don't have to build the map from scratch. Finally, I should mention that what you change on the map actually also changes on the report and vice versa. Finally, we have the Academy, the go-to hub for learning and support. It helps you understand key concepts, build practical skills, and make informed decisions using ENVISION. I thank you for listening. For those of you interested in seeing more about ENVISION or have any product-related questions, I encourage you to come by our Solutions Center and ask away. Thank you.
So we calculated, I think, more than half of the organizations in the room license ENVISION, and probably about 65% of people actually are users. So isn't that great? Come on, isn't that wonderful? That's a big team. That's a lot of work. That's scrum after scrum, ceremonies, and whatever all that is, that had the input from our customer side, our service side, our product people, our project managers, our analytics people, to bring that all together. And that's just the beginning. Teresa and Andrew is Andrew here, our Chief Technology Officer, to be congratulated, and all their teams for the final stage of the journey where we've been able to turn ENVISION, we used to call it 2.0, now we just call it ENVISION, to beta clients, and we're going to be rolling it out to the rest of you shortly. So getting back to my puzzle, another important piece of this puzzle is when you have all this data and you have all this analytics and this power to do, you have to make sure that you have infrastructure. And infrastructure is the underlying structure that makes a society work. That's the best definition I could find. But in our context, what we're really talking about are what are the key elements of infrastructure that enable you and your organizations to use data and analytics for better outcomes. And truly one of them is the ability to communicate, connect to the systems and the platforms and have powerful networks for phones and internet. Another important thing to all of you, especially right now, is understanding how to have sustainable and sovereign data centers. These data centers are going to use a lot of power, and so they do have to come from the mindset of sustainability and what's good for the environment. But we also have a lot of concern now about where these data centers are located. You need to have systems and processes that protect and enhance cybersecurity. If you go to the cybersecurity conferences, honestly, if you're not into it, it'll make your hair stand on end. When you see the websites, not even on the dark web, that offer people ways to create phishing and attack and ways to really attack your data and attack your companies, it is unbelievably rampant. And I've been at 3 conferences in the last year where I've heard people talk about what the government and the policing services and technology firms are doing. And so the opportunity to really increase your cybersecurity is something that if you're in the data and analytics business, you have to think about. And finally, ways to leverage the power of AI. That one we're working on from our point of view, but there's so much more. Most of these things aren't things that we can really help you with in the sense that they're not in our wheelhouse. But we know some people who can really help you. And so today, I'm delighted to have John Watson, the Group President of Bell Canada for Business Markets, responsible for their AI and AI Fabric launches, Bell Cyber, and a new technology company called Ateco. So please help me welcome John to the stage. He's going to tell you about how they can help you with all that.
All right, thanks, Jan. Okay. So this has been an awesome morning so far, Jan. Great curriculum, and I agree with everything you said. The one thing starting off, do you know you work in the best damn part of the companies that you operate in? You see, now I'm in infrastructure. Who's signing up for infrastructure versus sales and marketing, which is the core? And what's nice about this is it brings me back to my roots. I feel like I'm part of one of you. I started off consumer packaged goods with General Mills, moved to pharma OTC with Abbott Laboratories, and it's a fantastic space. I was a little impatient when I didn't get an invitation to Minneapolis or Chicago. I jumped into this company. Some of you may know it. It was the preeminent marketing and sales consultancy in Toronto. I'll date myself. This is 80s, 90s with a great cast of characters where we did amazing work in the space, and we were a customer of Jan's way back in the day. Some lessons learned from that. Here's a book, lots of books out there. But the message from this one is a young kid, because we turned that book into $30,000 PowerPoint decks. So I thought, hey, this is a fantastic idea. But the message that stuck with me, and this book is 1988, there's probably only 12 of us in the room, may have been working back then, is this essence of learning. If you can create an organization that learns, you can do anything. And when I look at the charts that were up earlier and the beautiful graphs and all the things connected, the core of all of this is having a senior executive officer team who's committed to learning and connecting, and then it all flows from there. Anything's possible when you have that. When you don't, all you do is get roadblocks and broken telephone as they walk through in an organization. So this is core to all of that. I gotta watch my clock, I don't have much time. The other thing is, if you have a customer-centric executive team, they have to be learning focused. And as soon as you're learning focused, you need the data. If you don't have the data, you can't do anything. And this is, in the old days, data was really damn hard. 2 weeks to run one of those fancy regression analysis on a customer base, looking at a year of data and looking at how that links to some outcome or action. And then it would take you 6 months to try and convince the folks that the regression was actually right and go and do something about it, another 4 months. It's mind-blowing today in terms of the tools you have and the intersection of data and then into AI now that Jan was talking about. Silos, we love silos. So just to give you a bit of a backdrop. I came from another company, Bell, about 16 years ago. In 16 years, I've woven together 9,000 data silos. We're not done yet. So this challenge within organizations, then as soon as you do that, and for me, it's not just the insight. Because I was in 15 years an executive officer in operations, I ran the machinery. I actually want to take the marketing insight through the machinery and actually get work done on an automated fashion at the edge of, be it technicians, customers, or agents in that case, service agents. This was pivotal. Who remembers this cover? 2 people put their hands up. This is 2012. This isn't 100 years ago. When this came out, it gave me an agenda to go to the CEO and the other execs and say, see, this stuff's important. It's only 13, 14 years ago. So we need to go and fund this. And it was almost impossible to get funding. You'd show up at a meeting with the finance folks, and they look at it and say, what are you talking about? You know, what are you going to do with it? Show me the business case where you're going to deliver. So eventually I just put an unlimited symbol in there to say it's unlimited value. And they still didn't fund me. But this became a turning point, as you all know, because it opened things up, and we know how technology morphed with the capabilities that has just exploded. So what am I up to? So about 2.5 years ago, I got the B2B P&L. And I was still running all operations as well. I've given that to someone else in the last while. What we're trying to do is grow, and there's 3 adjacencies to it. Everything has to be cyber protective, built the fastest cyber company, and we just launched our new brand last week with fully automated AI-powered SOC, if that means anything to you, it may not. We also looked, because I ran operations, I understood the need to take those insights that you're generating, but now you have to act on them in 30 milliseconds. So how can you act on those insights at the edge of all of those constituents and do it in 30 milliseconds through a legacy stack? Well, I can tell you can't. Or you're going to spend $6 million per integration, so that didn't work. We've now created the largest SIMSP, System Integrator, Managed Service Partner, on hyperscaler, ServiceNow, Salesforce. Why? Because you can actually get work done from the marketing insights through to the edge in 30 milliseconds and keep promises. So that's the essence of that business. We launched that in March, the naming. The last one really links in here. There is no large-scale mega AI dense compute cloud in Canada. It doesn't exist. That's sovereign. And we've stepped up to build this. First site went live in May. I've got a second site going live the end of the year. We've got 500 megawatts of clean power, and this is coming fast. To have the large-scale site that's sovereign, that's supercharged with AI high-density racks. We've got NVIDIA running. We've got Grok. This isn't Elon's Grok. It's another Grok built by the fellow who built the Tensor chip that's only inference-oriented. And it's an amazing time, absolutely amazing time to stand this up. And what we're doing with it isn't just selling space. We've linked up with these folks. Who's heard of Cohere? Probably half the room. So Cohere is the only Canadian LLM. We got one. 6 weeks ago, we signed the largest contract with them to be their #1 customer. But it's not just a customer relationship. Cohere is only B2B. And unlike all the other models, for folks who aren't familiar, it's a custom LLM. So when you do inference on all of the other models, you're doing inference. You're pinging their model, coming back, summarize the report, write the code, and it comes back. The difference here is that you're training a custom LLM with all of your company data. So you're actually creating a new model. It's not inference, it's training using your company data, using all your PowerPoints, all your documents, everything vacuumed up and customized. The purpose there is that when you really want to differentiate and build something to advance, to move more quickly, this is a pathway. And there are those who believe that every company will have their own custom LLM because it supercharges outcomes, because it takes all of the knowledge within your company and brings it to an LLM state. That's why we partner with Cohere. And it's not just internally, it's a go-to-market that we've got with them because we do that work at scale. And Fabric, here's a bit of a stack for you. This isn't just building a facility, connecting it, loading it with GPUs, and selling it. What we're doing is bringing together a lot of small tech companies in Canada to be part of a sovereign estate as a group that can bring solutions. We are bringing large mega cap cloud providers and platforms to run from a sovereign perspective as well. And then all of the services that you can run off that we're tagging along as a full stack Canadian AI supercompute capability. First of. And through there, it creates a lot of opportunity as we roll along. So we're pretty excited about teeing that up and bringing it to fruition. And last step, what I'd like to finish with, now is a moment where we can build in Canada, we can run these platforms, and then we can take them to the world versus the other way around. It is a pivotal moment. It takes a little bit of risk tolerance, takes a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, but it's actually the moment for us to stand up and do this. So thank you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, and appreciate you letting me share my story with you. Thank you. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to John for sharing, and more than that, how excited we are as Bell moves forward with these initiatives. If you see things there that are of interest to you, you can contact your Environics rep, you can call me, and we'll connect you with the right people at Bell Business Markets that can help you with all of those solutions so that our Environics data and your challenges can be a part of your solutions.
Great.
Thanks
you, Jan.
again.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, one of the most exciting topics is governance, right? Security, privacy. People know me, know that I get pretty excited about it. So I do want to spend a little bit of time on it this morning. First of all, governance, principles-based. You know, you're going to have policies, you're going to have programs, we're going to have laws, we're going to have regulations, but you have to make sure that the fundamental principles, when you have data, and particularly when you have data that your organization's customers, donors, members, residents, they're giving you that data for a purpose that you have to deliver things to them, make their lives better, but you have a responsibility to make sure that what you're doing with that data is 100% consistent with what they expect of you and with what you should be doing. So as I mentioned earlier, being PIPEDA compliant is not a governance policy. We have a governance office, we have a chief data officer, and they have policies that pertain to how we receive data. I hate to tell you this, but I've had pretty responsible, respectable organizations send me a customer data file for a project in an Excel file attached to an email in this day and age. Don't do that. You have to make sure that when data comes in and out of your organization, the transfer protocols are exactly what they need to be. You have to have rules and processes and guardrails around where the data resides. Also, what data we accept. If we don't need any personal information, we don't want you to give it to us. It's not like, okay, we'll just send over your whole file and then we'll put the names and addresses and the phone numbers in the bin. No, we only accept the data that is required and that's papered and that's covered in our MSAs and our statements of work. We have to know what the approved usage is, because when you got that data and you shared it with us, or when we get data that we're using for our products, we have to know what exactly is the use case, and is it compliant with your disclosures and with your legal ownership rights and with the things that we've agreed to do. We have to know how every piece of data is secured, how long we can keep it, Who can access it in our organization? Some people can see this kind of data, other people can't. In our organization, roles are designated for who can access what kind of data. We have internal data and governance training that's part of employment agreements, and maintaining those online training programs to learn new things and refresh what you know about data governance are part of people's performance reviews. We also know that you have to mitigate risk, because no matter how good we are, for most organizations, they plan their governance that you could have some kind of intrusion. And the question is how quickly you detect it, how quickly you act against it. There's tools now, some of the ones that I've seen from the Bell Cyber team, that in 15 seconds can detect something, stop it, and contain it. So we don't want to say you're going to have intrusions into your system, but you have to mitigate risks. And finally, you have to think about the ethics of what you should and you shouldn't do with data, because data is very important to us right now. And in order for Canada to be resilient and recover and make its a new path in terms of some trade and some development and innovation, we have to make sure that we have the data, but we have to make sure that we're thinking about what the right thing is to do in the interests of Canadians and in the interests of the society that we live in. And all those are part of what we consider a data governance principle-based approach. Then there's the operations. I mentioned we have a chief data officer, we have a chief compliance and risk officer, we have a chief privacy officer. That each part of that is important to what we're doing with data. And in every department, we have data stewards, and they have to convene regular meetings, and they're responsible for making sure all of the compliance issues and any changes and implementations or addition to policies are communicated throughout the organization. And we have a compliance office steering committee that meets every month that I have to chair, that I'm pleased to chair. And I get reports on, you know, the length of time our systems were up and the number of fishes and all the, it's extremely important that we collectively monitor and understand any good news and any bad news. The training I've already mentioned goes through the Privacy and Security Foundations, the access to PII and what that means in terms of people's roles and responsibilities. Just keeping people up to date on the laws, because in Canada they have been changing. Data governance and risk management. We have a whole training module on the ethical use of data. And then we have role-based privacy and security training so that each person knows what their accountability is. We also do an extensive amount of external review and testing, SOC 1, SOC 2, HIPAA, which pertains to any kind of sensitive or healthcare data, but also has a lot of important regulations in it that we like to apply to all data. So we like to think that any data that we're bringing in-house, either to make product or to do work for you, we're treating with the same level of standard that would be applied to healthcare data. Penetration testing is we have people actually try to breach our systems, and vulnerability testing. So that's our governance program in general. And then a specific focus of our governance program is our privacy policy. I've been involved in the privacy lobby in Canada for more than 30 years, as has Amanda Maltby, our Chief Privacy Officer. She and I were both involved in a lot of the consultation in the early drafting of PIPEDA, so that kind of dates us too. But we believe that the fundamentals of privacy are do what a reasonable person would reasonably expect. That language has been in the lexicon of privacy for a long time. I go further, and I always want to emphasize to the data community that respecting the trust that people put in you when they gave you that data is not in conflict with being data-driven. For people who think that, oh, if you're in the data business, that's a dirty word, you shouldn't be doing that, you're a bad actor, that's an antiquated view. Being in the data business is important to our economy and to our social well-being, and we can do good data work, and we can respect that trust. You just have to be intentional. You have to be scientific about it. When do you need the PII? If you need the PII for a specific purpose, for a specific time, then you need to make sure that you've disclosed to your customer through a transparency and consent framework what you intend to do, that they're fully aware of that, and that they have the opportunity to enable you to allow you to do that or to not. So that's really what principles-based privacy means. We believe that you need to build it into everything that you do. It's not so much responsibility of the legal department or the compliance department. As a matter of fact, we say privacy is a customer-centric issue. If one thing goes wrong, then your brand is on the front page of the paper, you're investigated. In many cases, 2 years later, you're exonerated, but that doesn't help your business. So I'm very excited to see a lot of, I would say that barrier that we had 10 years ago, where you have the business people want to do things and you have the lawyers saying no. I don't think we live in that world anymore. I think the business people and the lawyers are committed to answering the question, how can we do this? How can we use this data? And it's the progress that we've seen is because people understand the value of their data and how important it is not only to them, but to how things work, that enables us to use data to make things run better. And one of the things we need to do is promote data literacy. What that means is at Thanksgiving dinner or when you're at a cocktail party and you tell people that you work in data and analytics and they say, oh my God, you're not the person who's following me around on my cell phone or spying on me. You need to explain to people how important these data are, how important you as an organization make sure that data are used properly. And my experience is that when we do that, people say, oh, you're right. And that it's a very small number of voices with an agenda who don't want data to drive decision-making. Who wouldn't? It's just that we have to do it properly and in the right context. I recently worked with Osler, with Adam Kardash. I'm not sure if Adam's joining us. I think he might be here, but maybe not, who is one of the top privacy lawyers in Canada. And we did a survey. We asked both business people and regulators inside organizations their attitude on a number of privacy questions. 68% said that privacy was core to their role, even though only 35% of the respondents actually worked in a compliance role. 76% said that respecting PI, personal information, is critical to their organization's success. Only 26% of those surveyed felt that privacy laws were a barrier to innovation. And 70% agreed that the new government, the new minister responsible for AI, that we need a national strategy and a policy framework to facilitate responsible AI. Responsible AI needs responsible data practices, but also we need to help the government regulators understand what the business community needs from AI so the regulators don't get ahead of themselves. So on the subject of the privacy law, people ask me what I think. Do we think we're going to have reform? Are we not? We almost had reform before the election. Most people are familiar with Bill C-27. That isn't a bill anymore. There was a lot of lobbying. There was a lot of changes. There were some touchy points. For the most part, I think most people in the privacy community think that it will serve our purposes if those same principles are either and become law, or if the best practice and the guidance from the commissioner deals with the things that brought PIPEDA into the digital world, dealing with anonymization and de-identification and risk of re-identification and disclosures and whether it's negative or positive opt-in consent. All those things I think have been talked through, and for the most part, from a marketing and business point of view, there seems to be a general consensus. But I think one of the things that's probably not going to happen based on what we hear from governments, is that linking together any privacy law reform to the AI regulation that's going to probably be decoupled. My feeling is right now, drafting legislation to regulate AI would be like, oh, now we're going to draft a bill to regulate the internet, right? Like there's so many aspects and components. I believe the government needs to enter into an extensive consultation, but I think to prepare for that, the industry needs to regulate itself. And that the people who are bringing AI and using AI to drive innovation, and it's not really us, there's tons of people who are doing incredible work. They need to have a voice, and that we as a data user community need to stay on top of that and support that voice. So I think you're going to hear more when Evan talks to you about data collaboration solutions, about how we're dealing with thinking about privacy in the context of blending data. And then we're going to talk a little bit about where we're headed in AI. But just know that we can't do good AI work without having the data, that we need to be really committed to a privacy-centric approach in order to drive those models and use it for productivity. We have a very intense set of rules. This is kind of a manifesto that summarizes some of the key things. Obviously, you can't read it. Otherwise, I would put up a most type PowerPoint slide. But you can see the things I've talked about, both in terms of our governance and in our privacy principles on our website. And these are things that we're committed to. We also participate, as well as all the industry associations around marketing and advertising and location and market research and retail. We also participate in many of the privacy organizations to bring the voice, hopefully bring your voice, but we need all the support we can get. So anybody who wants to reach out and talk more about it and become a part of that dialogue, there's a window of opportunity right now to make sure that industry's voice is strong to this government in terms of regulation and what it means for our ability to be innovative. Which leads me to our almost last topic for the day. We got a little housekeeping to do after that. But that is our new business. It truly is a new business. We talk about our data clean rooms. We talk about data collaboration. We talk about our partnership with LiveRamp. It rolls into a business that we call Data Collaboration Services. And the leader of Data Collaboration Services is our Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer, Evan Wood, who's going to talk to you about that business.
There we go. Thank you very much, Jan, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new ones, and look forward to connecting with you throughout the course of the day. So we are on a very exciting journey, one that we want you as brands, as agency partners, as media organizations, as industry partners, we want you to actively participate in. Because we are all part of the marketing ecosystem, and we all have our own specific roles to play in our respective niches, but we do have a common goal. And Jan's talked about it already today, and that is we want to deliver more effective outcomes, better outcomes, in order to deliver the best possible experience for our customers in the most efficient way. I think that's fundamentally, at the end of the day, that's what we all are trying to achieve. And we're only going to be able to achieve that if we can collaborate effectively with one another to access the right data, to access the right technology, to access the right expertise, and the governance and the privacy and the data security that Jan talked about already. And that is unique, and that fits in the Canadian context. So let me quickly share with you a bit of a journey of how we got over the last 3, 4, 5 years to where we are today, just to do a little bit of a level set. So in 2021, we started seeing a bunch of market challenges, a convergence of market realities that were facing marketers and organizations generally. Things like, as first-party data assets grew, we understood that they're all sitting in silos, and that's been talked about today. We saw the deprecation of cookies and loss of other targeting signals. There was a lot of pressure from the CFO and C-suite generally around getting better visibility on the impact of marketing spend. A lot of these challenges came out, and so as a result of that, I think that the organization started to ask the question, how can we do a better job of actually looking at this thing called first-party data, this important asset that we have, and how can we do a better job of leveraging that to inform our marketing efforts without compromising consumer privacy and the security of our data. Hence the introduction of this term clean room, these neutral environments, if you will, that provide a purpose-specific, time-limited opportunity to securely bring data together in order to benefit from the sort of intersect, I guess, of those data in that environment in order to inform marketing activity. And so we came to market and we introduced the concept of clean room, not uniquely, but we were certainly among the first in Canada to be able to do that. And that became really a natural evolution of our value proposition as EA to you, because it was really helping move from data-driven insights and understanding audiences, but then importantly to how to activate. Beyond just having our third-party data out in the activation platforms, it was how do we actually help, foment, if you will, that data collaboration and be able to activate data more effectively. Then in 2022, we created this environment, what we call this data collaboration environment made for Canada called the EA Vault, which was really a combination of best-in-class technology, which included clean rooms, our decades of expertise around analytics and a series of sort of orchestrated applications to address a wide range of use cases, industry-leading the data governance and the privacy and the security, all delivered in that environment as a managed service, so that brands and agencies, organizations such as yourselves could actually leverage the service without having the resources or the expertise to do it yourselves. So it's been very successful. We've done dozens and dozens of initiatives within that environment. But as data collaboration and the words of data collaboration sort of continued to gain momentum and entrench themselves sort of in the marketing ecosystem, we also asked ourselves the question around how can we provide our clients and the market at large with solutions that would enhance and accelerate, data collaboration capabilities, and importantly, how can we provide easier, faster time to value for you as brands? And the answer to that question came in the form of LiveRamp, and who, by the way, was last year's partner of the year. And for those of you who know LiveRamp and were here last year, they are a global ad tech leader and a very good partner to us. So effective last year, at the beginning of last year, we became the exclusive provider of LiveRamp technology, products, and services in Canada, which was really a game changer for the marketplace and for marketers generally. So LiveRamp, if you don't know, and if we haven't had discussions with you already, and I hope we'll have many more discussions with you, LiveRamp offers a privacy-first identity solution for the market. So a privacy-preserving way of using your PI for ad campaigns. They have an intuitive campaign activation and measurement platform. They have industry-leading, world-class clean room technology, a network of Canadian and global media platforms that are part of their network, and publishers that are part of their authenticated traffic solution. And this partnership has really added significantly to EA's capabilities, particularly in the area of media collaboration. And that brings us to today, here and now, where we have really brought these, best of breed capabilities together, formalized in a new division within EA called the Data Collaboration Services Division. We are committed to helping deliver on the promise of better marketing outcomes and effectiveness to create those better customer experiences through data collaboration, based on best-in-class data, technology, and analytics fit for the Canadian context. Leading privacy and governance, industry sector expertise that you know us for, unparalleled connectivity and connection opportunities between brands, between your agency partners, between media and publishers, between industry associations, data providers, everybody in the ecosystem. And we offer these services not only as a managed service opportunity, if that fits your use case, but we can also license the technology fully to you to operate within your own environment, if that's also what suits your context. Big opportunities exist, and we're excited about delivering on these for you. Admittedly, over the last couple of years, and as you've seen things evolve, we may not have been as clear with our messaging to you about what is the value proposition that we're really bringing to you and your organization. How do we create that level of effectiveness? How does this all work? So I'm here to share with you now, in as simplified and clear way as possible, what data collaboration services can provide for you. The first is really around identifying the audiences, planning, segmenting, and identifying who are the right target audiences for you. We want to help you break down internal silos, for sure, and external data silos, so that you're able to leverage all the relevant data assets that make sense for you in the easiest way possible. And that means bringing your internal data together, for sure. It means accessing data from others, including marketing partners. And it means using your existing EA data licenses that you have with us and your custom target groups that you've worked in developing with us, and finding them in other organizations' databases, partners' databases, out in the media ecosystem, and in media platforms. Activation. Activating means using your first-party data, second-party data, third-party data to grow the size of your audiences. Scale is important. And reach them across the media ecosystem as effectively as possible and with partners. And it means doing so in a privacy-safe, transparent way, using possibly LiveRamp's identity solution for a more effective reach to authenticated audiences, and measurement that's transparent and meaningful. Measurement, absolutely critical. For those of you who've been to conferences anytime in the last 18 months, everybody's talking about measurement. How do we measure the impact of our marketing spend? We can help bring all those elements together. We have brought all those elements together. We can share with you some of the use cases that we've done, from media campaigns, from loyalty programs, from media marketing sponsorships. We can look at response level and impression level data to provide you with all the customer metrics and media metrics that connect to performance by channel, by platform, by customer type, by product, and much more. We are doing this. It's not, oh, I wish we could. We are. And finally, optimization. We want to help you optimize, after you do that measurement, optimize those marketing efforts, whether it's to generate more detailed media and customer insights, such as attribution, to allocate your spend to the right channels and reduce wastage, to find the right partners for you to connect with on new co-marketing initiatives. Data collaboration really can deliver, the kind of return on ad spend and ROI that you're looking for. And we're doing this because the new marketing reality increasingly looks something like this. These are just sample brands, but if you look at it, we want to be able to enable you to create these types of connections to organizations. Every brand should be thinking about, if they're not already on this journey, who they want to partner with, who is going to be in their micro ecosystem that's going to enhance the ability for them to deliver on that customer experience. Who are they going to collaborate with from a data perspective to create better marketing effectiveness and really deliver on the promise for those customers? Because if you think about a brand, let's think about one brand. In this case, we're looking at Samsung. You know, obviously, they as a brand do want to influence their customer experience. And they have a lot of data. They have a lot of data inside, in this case, the television. Could be phones, since they have those as well. They have a lot of different data points that they can control within their own environment. Newsletters, sales data, CRM data. So they have a lot that they can play with. There's a lot of touch points that their consumers go through on their journey outside that they also can harness, because each one of those providers has certain data that's going to help them do a better job of delivering on that promise more effectively, more efficiently. But a truly optimized data collaboration looks like many more touch points, because there are lots of different touch points that can be out there. Yes, they have to choose which ones are priorities. But this is happening today. It looks a lot more complicated than it actually is, because all the data are there, all the privacy-enhancing technologies are there, the processes are there, the security and data credentials are there, agreements are there. It can happen. If you think about another brand like Disney, for example, Disney has over 1,000 clean rooms that they spin up, because they have so many different partners that they could partner with, and they do so. Was it easy the first time? Not necessarily. Is it easier the second, third, fourth time? Absolutely. Because really, if you think about what's happening today, you know, everybody is and has to be connected. We all need to be connected. Brands to brands, advertisers to media platforms and publishers, manufacturers to retailers and measurement partners. It goes on. Collaborate with anyone, activate anywhere, measure everything, be connected. And so we are here to help as EA, and now with our data collaboration services team. You know, we really occupy a unique position in the market where we can convene and connect all the partners in the ecosystem, and we can facilitate that collaboration for the widest range of use cases to help you get those outcomes, to deliver the customer experience that you want, to unlock new revenue opportunities. So don't be shy. Please come and talk to us. Either come and talk to us today, reach out to your EA sales rep to set up some time to talk to us, to help let us walk you through the process and the opportunity that exists. We can discuss your situation. We can gather the necessary requirements. We can help you develop a plan, crawl, walk, run, and help you on that collaboration journey. We need to get started, and I hope you will join us towards the end of the day at 3:30 for a panel with panelists from Loblaw Advance, from CAA, and from Bell Media, where we will actually be talking a little bit more about data collaboration, and you can hear from them and their perspectives of how they've approached their journey, which I think will be very, very informative. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Evan. I think we talked about it a bit last year. I mentioned last year that when I started talking to people about this new business that we were setting up in partnership with LiveRamp and achieving all of the things that Evan has outlined that we aspire to, people said to me, oh, that's not the Environics I know. I hope it becomes clear. I hope it has become clearer. And if it hasn't, bug us and push us, because it seems so clear to me now how the evolution of our business from being in the insights business and the location intelligence business, and then looking at how we connect audiences and we move into the digital world and we measure the outcomes and we deal with privacy and we deal with technology, why data collaboration, and particularly data collaboration platform, is so important. We've invested through our owner millions of dollars to set up that platform that he's describing there. You can license those tools, or you can pour your data into that platform and take advantage of what we've invested in. We've made that offer to associations, to other providers, to agencies. We're working with others as well. We believe that we need this kind of technology, and we're delighted that we have had the opportunity to invest in it and to make a partnership with the global leader. But we want you to talk to us about how it might work for you and ways in which it might make you get on your journey faster. So we're running to the end of the time. I know it's been a long session. I hope it's helped you understand how we view the different pieces of the puzzle. Just going to take a few more minutes to talk a little bit about what's next. And because I don't want to make a mistake in terms of announcing some specific things, I'm going to stay here for the moment. I'm very happy to announce today, or to tell you today, about something that was announced yesterday in partnership with the Canadian Urban Institute. The Canadian Urban Institute has produced a suite of products and services under the banner of Main Street Metrics. It has produced products for Main Street and BIAs for a long time. Yesterday, we announced the release of the services called Main Street Metrics. This is an important partnership at this juncture in Canada, because small businesses and the hearts of downtowns and the retail strips need metrics to understand how to improve the opportunities and the outcomes. The Canadian Urban Institute has been a powerful leader for a long time, combining its ability to convene the right parties and to also influence public policy leadership. So very happy that we were able to partner with President Mary Rowe, with Chief Operating Officer Yvonne Vonjanga, and their Main Street lead, Chris Reckitt. And they will be here today, and you'll have an opportunity to talk to them about this great initiative. Main streets are more than commercial centers. They're the sort of lifeblood of our communities. And so being able to have our data curated and organized and offered to local governments and to main streets in order to make those communities stronger is a great opportunity for us. And we thank you to the CUI for the opportunity to partner. This morning, we're announcing an expanded partnership with NIQ. And if anybody isn't up to speed, NIQ, that's what we used to call Nielsen, and the Nielsen Insights Group, global leader in consumer intelligence. The new agreement that we have between Environics Analytics and NIQ involves adding 3 powerful tools to EA's marketing analytics roster and platforms. Something called Precision Areas, which is going to enable us to do measurement of sales at sub-market levels based on NIQ data. Geo Audience, which is going to enable us to target also at a smaller spatial scale using the great data they have about products purchased from their retail and home scan databases. And then GeoLift, which is going to enable us to actually measure the outcomes. So when we see what Evan's doing, if you can see ad exposure or different kinds of audience targeting, and then we can see who actually came in the store, or using the NIQ data, how sales improved in the areas that you were targeting, we're able to measure outcomes, even if we don't have the ideal, which is actual purchase behavior data. These data add important targeting and measurement components to the data that we already have. I have to say personally that over 20 years, our partnership with what used to be Nielsen and now is the NIQ business in Canada has been a mainstay of many of the things we've done. Mike Lubchuk, who's here. Mike, thank you so much. And Jenny and Sharon and Patrick and all the people who work together with our teams. We're going to work together to bring these new tools to you. Another important partnership is with Kestle. In May, we announced an expanded partnership with Kestle, one of Canada's largest and most diverse consumer panels. Known for app-based surveys, receipt capture, and consumer review capabilities, Kestle helps brands collect valuable data at every step of the consumer journey. EA and Kestle have worked together previously to leverage Kettle's PRISM segment-based panel surveys to include several of EA's data products. But under the terms of this new expanded partnership, EA will add Kestle data, including transaction-level detail through uploaded receipts, to our ability to do measurement. And so thank you to Ransom and the team for offering us this opportunity to expand the relationship and work together. Also want to mention that we're adding 3 new important data sources from another long-standing partner, Vividata. We're going to add the SCC Digital to our Vividata Optics program. That means that we will have the data from the great survey of the Canadian consumer fused together with actual digital behavior from their SCC Digital database. And we will start to produce this data twice a year and eventually 4 times a year so that you'll be able to have a much more updated view. We're also going to incorporate the important sports database into our data products. Sports is so important in terms of sponsorship, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of understanding the preferences and behaviors of Canadians, and it's going to be a big addition to our data product next year. And finally, adding the multicultural data from Vividata. The study has expanded over the years, covers South Asians, Filipinos, and Chinese, and we're going to bring that into our project and our product services so that you can have the benefit of the Vividata study and the work that we already do around diversity. We're very delighted to continue our collaboration with both Numeris and Enlogic. The Numeris expertise in video and audio measurement, combining with things like our clean room service and data collaboration service, offers lots of promise. We're working on POCs and developing processes that we can work together. Next year, we will be moving from our traditional Numeris optics survey to leveraging their new Echo Intelligence survey that's going to replace RTS. And we're very appreciative to Sue and Alicia for the work we do to be able to bring both the Numeris and the Enlogic data into our ecosystem. We've also done a lot of work recently with the ACA to understand how we can collaborate and work on prototypes for cross-media measurement solutions. We're making services through our clean room available to them to do some experimentation. So Andrea and Judy are big partners for us in experimenting in new ways in which we can look at cross-media measurement together. I'm thrilled to announce a new study that's being conducted by Think TV. This is a study that'll prove TV's roles in driving measurable business outcomes. Using a combination of our data collaboration services and EA data, this comprehensive study will feature a compelling mix, bringing advertiser data, category-level insights together, and demonstrating TV's effectiveness. And it's been a great opportunity to work with Catherine McLeod. This study will be taking place over the next small number of weeks and will be available as part of our proof of how some of the use cases that Evan talked to you in data collaboration services work. Also want to acknowledge our ongoing work with the IAB and give a shout out to Sonia and thank you for joining us today. We work closely with the IAB on a wide range of issues, particularly privacy and consumer consent, to understand how all of these products and services can really drive effective and safe and responsible digital advertising and marketing in Canada. As many know, we work very closely with our partners at Bell Media, not exclusively, but very closely because they've come to the party to work with us on so many aspects of using our data and are using their data in collaboration. Bell Media is launching in partnership with EA a capability to actually add an outcomes measurement report. So to give advertisers in a privacy-friendly way, a way of looking at the actual ad exposure on linear addressable TV and looking at the outcomes measurement using the techniques that Evan showed you in the clean room. And finally, we continue to work with the Retail Council, who has made an incredible contribution to looking at the retail industry, and particularly had to carry a big load in terms of trade wars, in terms of thinking about environmental systems, as well as thinking about the health and well-being of retailers and main streets. They incorporate our data into their dashboards, and we continue to offer new data and opportunities for them to use both the studies we do and the data to make it available to help the retail sector face the issues and really build a more resilient retail sector. And I know Kim wasn't able to make it, but I want to shout out to Santo, who's worked with us so closely on these opportunities. So that's a little bit of a sense of the kinds of initiatives that are coming out of the new things we're doing and the old things we're doing, and really where those worlds come together. And more of an example of how it is a big tent, and how if we all work together, we're going to get further faster. And it's just like, well, now we've got our puzzle pieces together, we've got all these great things doing, we've got this transformation, and then all of a sudden this AI thing comes along to transform our transformation. So I want to end off just to tell you that we are there. We went through the first phase of using AI to, help us be more efficient and get meetings and take notes and those things. And then we said, we've got to get more serious. So instead of having a committee and a policy, we actually have to staff for this. We have to choose the tools, and we have to dig in. You'll be interested to know that the PRISM poster that you have on your table, which shows the new segments redefined for 2025, the drawings were generated by AI. And it wasn't easy. There's no, as you well know, as you've done the experiment, you put in a prompt and you get what you need. It's back and forth and intelligence and a lot of intelligent prompting. But those icons are drawn using AI. And Teresa's already shown you how AI is showing up in ENVISION, and there's going to be a lot more of that. The next exciting thing you'll see in ENVISION is that you will be able to talk to it, and you'll have agents that can hear your questions and bring answers back to you. And as you can see, we're also embracing the actual building of agents and bringing the power of agentic AI into our solutions. The ENVISION user or other users will be talking to our agents that we will be building, and those agents will be interacting with our own proprietary version of our MCP server that will make our data more AI ready. So the data will come with models, it will come with context, it will come with things that you know about what you need to do in order to use the data effectively in your AI world. And then you'll be able to interact with that MCP server and our AI agents through ENVISION APIs, or through things like our data collaboration services, or from Snowflake, or from Databricks, or from whatever solution you want. So the AI will be there. We're using the tools that we've shown up on the screen extensively across our organization. We probably have gone from 4 to 50 people who are actually using AI to make our products more part of the analytical engine, as well as part of just making the communication and the interaction better. So I'm going to end there. I thank you very much for your attention. I know it's a long session. I hope that it gives you a lot more of an idea of where we're coming from and where we're going. I'm a great believer that you build on your past. You don't, stop doing what you were doing before. It's been a journey for us to go from insights and location intelligence to activation, to embrace the digital world. People say to me, are you really fearful about what AI is going to do? I just want to tell you one last story. I started my career processing government statistics as a mathematician by training, but there weren't a lot of jobs for women. I was 4 women in a class of 140. I'm not going to tell you the date. But my first job was to actually take the surveys that Ontario was processing for the federal government. And our job was to do the edit and imputation on those surveys, and then to get the surveys into spreadsheets so they could be used for analysis. But just be sure you understand, the mailbag came in the morning and the surveys got dumped, and people flattened them out, and then we opened them up, and edit and imputation meant look at every calculation and see if it made sense, and if it didn't, write a business rule so that you could actually make that add up or fill in what the respondent missed. And then when we entered them into spreadsheets, I don't know, maybe Doug and Mike, but I don't know anybody else. It used to be this thing called a columnar pad. That was my spreadsheet. I entered by pencil the data all across, and I added up the rows and the columns, and then I passed it to my partner who did the QA, and then that went to the key punch room, and those spreadsheets got punched on cards, and a couple guys walked it across the street to the mainframe computer center. Now, I'm not telling you to tell you how antiquated I am. I'm telling you that because I understood what needed to happen and how that data could be processed and what the power could be, it stayed with me forever, so that when we actually got personal computers, when we got desktop mapping, when we needed to deal with how to take the same kind of data and transform it into digital products, I've always been excited, and my colleagues who've joined me on this journey have always been excited about the technology taking us forward. Because if you have the fundamentals about data and analytics, you don't want to be entering, numbers on spreadsheets with the pencil in case you make a mistake. You want to be leveraging the power. So based on my journey and the journey of the leadership at Environics Analytics, we embrace this opportunity to use AI. We know the challenge that it has to be responsible, from many different perspectives. But for us, the number one thing is that we stay true to the statistical methods, to the integrity and the reliability. When you spend money with us to get insights or location intelligence, and we appreciate the fact that you do, but then when you get answers back, your organization turns around and spends 10 times as much money based on the advice and the information that we give you. So our promise to you is, we're excited about the future and the challenge and the changing technology, and we always embrace the changing technology, but we don't throw away what we learned from the past, so that we can do the best we can to give you statistics that actually simulate reality and answer your business problems. And then we can all make Canada more data-driven. Thank you very much.